there are people who lived and died before us, who made sacrifices for us to be able to celebrate our graduates today. So, and a lot of those people are still here. Our elders are still here. Yeah. So I think it's important that we all acknowledge the presence of our elders, as we celebrate our graduates. Particularly, I do want to acknowledge the woman of the house, Pastor Mills.
Amen. Amen.
I appreciate what you're doing, leading an institution like this, and I think it's very special. Some of our black churches don't want to allow women to assume the role that you have. Come on. And not to step on toes or anything like that, but to me that's just like that's in young people we use this term hustling backwards. To me, the institution is filled with black women. It wouldn't be where it is today without the black woman.
Amen.
So shout out to you, Pastor Mills. I appreciate your leadership, and you're doing great things in the community and with this church. I want to acknowledge those three particular pieces before I get started. My name is Matt. Just a brief introduction. My name is Matt Simpson. I'm from Rockford. Grew up on the south side, southeast side of town, by Black Hawk. I went to, you saw some colleges and stuff like that. That's all good, but I think the most important institution that I hold near and dear to my heart is Auburn High School. All right. Is it Auburn High School?
All right.
That's what I want to do.
Yes, 96.
I went to Auburn High School. I'm from Rockford. I love my city. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for Rockford, Illinois. And I want the young people to understand that this is a beautiful place, and it really is all what you make it. Having just accomplished a little bit of education, it's important for you to understand. You need to go and get some experience, but don't forget about home. As you pursue education and as you go out to change the world, don't forget about the crib. It's very important.
Amen.
So I appreciate being asked to speak. One thing I just want to acknowledge is that I'm not an authority on anything in particular. I don't like when people stand up and tell you that you can do X, Y, and Z and be successful, because that's not necessarily true. What I want to do is share some of my thoughts, some things that have helped me along my way to accomplish some goals that I set for myself. And hopefully it can help you too. I love the theme for today. Scripture, Romans 12:2, it says, "And be not conformed to this world,
Jesus,
but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God." There's two parts there to me. Be not conformed to this world, transform and renewing your mind. That's one part. And then the second part is that as you can prove that good and perfect will of God. I want to talk on the first part. I think that the will of God piece is very important, but I think, considering where we are today, having just accomplished graduation, and speaking of renewing the mind, I want to touch on that a little bit. So just speak on my idea about the mind and what it is to renew the mind, and then share some advice about maybe some things I do to help refresh myself, renew my mind. The first part is, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. First, I just want to acknowledge the difference between a brain and a mind. Two very different things. The brain is an organ inside of your body. It's the home of, it's like the central nervous system in your body. The brain is in your head, it's connected to your spine, your nerves go throughout your body, and, it sends signals when you decide that you want to dig in your nose, when you want to act like you didn't just pass gas or something like that. Your mind can make your face stay still when you just lift the whole car up. You know what I'm saying? That's the power of the mind. That's the brain, that's the brain. So the brain is an organ inside your body, which is very different than your mind. And the scripture says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, the brain is an organ inside your body. Your mind is a concept. it's a philosophical concept. And your mind is comprised of your lived experiences, your culture, your upbringing, and your education. These are things that comprise a mind. And you use your mind to filter messages that you get from all around you, and you use your mind to communicate your own ideas and your own sentiments. So that's why when people say, they have a mind of their own. Of course, we all do. We all have a mind of our own. When people say, I should have went with my first mind and did X, That's what they're talking about. They're talking about using that set of ideas or filters that they make decisions about the world. We all see the world through our mind's eye. So it all comes back to what your mom used to tell you when you was little, what music you used to listen to, who your heroes were, what you learned from teachers in the classroom. All those things comprise your mind. And in particular, scripture is significant to me because it uses that word. It doesn't say transform and renew your brain. You know what I mean?
All right.
Be transformed by renewing your mind. So since this is a concept and these things are kind of fluid, it's important that periodically we revisit our mind so we understand what we see, what we think, and how we feel. So what I want to do is just offer you, the graduates, some things that I keep in mind that I kind of always ponder when I'm trying to refresh my mind and renew my mind. First thing I'll say is you have to listen and watch at all times. Listen and watch. Now, we do it all the time involuntarily sometimes. It's a difference between hearing something and listening to something. Sometimes you driving down the street and you hear a siren. That's involuntary. But when you're listening, you're focused on absorbing that sound, and it has a different impact on you. Now, what do you listen to is the question. And how does that shape your mind? Who do you listen to? Who are the people that you allow to get close to you and provide you some counsel? Who are the people that influence your opinions? Who are your friends? Who do you listen to? A lot of times, there's an old saying, they say it's not what you know, it's who. Right. And I learned a while ago that it's not what you know, it's who you know, but it's also who knows you and why they know you. There's a difference between, sometimes people say it's who you know. Anybody can stand in the corner of this church and just point people out. I know him, I know her, I know them, But a lot of times those people may be just nosy in everybody's business or something like that. But the real significant piece is, who knows you and why they know you.
Yeah.
Do they know you for your willingness to go when others won't go? Do they know that in the class you're willing to raise your hand and everybody twiddling their thumbs and looking at each other? Do they know you at work because you're willing to pick up those hours and they'll call you before they call anybody else for a little extra money? Do they know you because you always have a smile and you're positive about challenges versus being pessimistic and a hater? Why do they know you? So that's like who you associate with, who you listen to. And it's also important to, in terms of refreshing your mind, listen and watch. What are you watching? What are you paying attention to? What are you allowing to, consume your time? The best thing to me about social media is that you can shape a world. You can curate an experience for yourself. So you can decide to follow certain outlets, and you can unfollow certain people. You can learn about things. You can expose yourself to stuff that's all over the world, and that's a beautiful thing. But it's also open season on anything you want. So what are you watching? Listen and watch. What are you paying attention to? And how is that impacting you? You know, because everything that we absorb and consume, it has an impact on us. It's, you know, whether it be directly or indirectly, it's kind of teaching us what's important, what's beautiful, what's correct. You know, so when we see, you know, people behaving in a certain way, we find it entertaining. Eventually, that's going to become more normal to us. Whether it be Real Housewives, or whether it be Love and Hip Hop, or whether it be, you know, whatever it is. And that's all beautiful and entertaining. But at a certain point, you have to understand and pay attention to what you're watching and what you're consuming. So really, you just want a balance of your edifying entertainment and your, you know, lighthearted nonsense. You know, you got to have a little bit of all of it for sure. But just be mindful of what you're listening to and what you're watching. And that kind of what I do to help renew my mind. You know, who am I spending time with? What am I listening to? What am I watching? And why am I watching it in the first place? Why is this important to me, a black man in Rockford? Why would this even be significant to me? You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the filter I use in terms of my mind. Listen and watch. Second piece, in terms of renewing my mind to be transformed, is you have to, what I do is I try my hardest to get to know my ancestors.
Amen.
To get to know my ancestors. I know that my grandmother and my grandfather met at Tuskegee University.
All right.
And, you know, I don't know if you're familiar with Tuskegee. It's rural South, you know, the Black Belt.
Yes.
More black people than white people, you know. Today it may be a little different. But, you know, Tuskegee as an institution was built by a man named Booker Washington. And he created the space, you know, whatever you think about Booker Washington, he created the space for black people to sharpen themselves and learn who they are at a time where it was dangerous to be black. So my grandparents met at Tuskegee.
Wow.
My grandmother studied education.
Wow.
My grandfather studied horticulture. They moved to Rockford in the 40s to pursue economic opportunities. A lot of our people, the Great Migration, he was leaving the South, leaving Southern terrorism, the threat of terrorism, to save your life, to save your family's life. My grandparents came up in the 40s looking for opportunity. My grandmother, certified teacher, could not get a job in Rockford Public School.
Well,
she worked as a janitor for Rockford Public Schools for a number of years. And it just so happened that she was cleaning up after a function where the superintendent of the schools was at and got the chance to have an interaction. And they struck up a conversation. And she said, well, you know, I moved up here from Tuskegee. I'm a teacher. I haven't had a chance to, you know, get into schools yet, but, you know, I'm still doing what I got to do. And the superintendent said, you're a teacher. Well, you know what? You can come and see me on Monday and we can get you a job. She ended up retiring from Haskell after 24 years in education. My grandfather studied horticulture, you know, which is kind of like property management, landscaping, and things like that. He came up from Tuskegee looking for an opportunity and couldn't get one. When he came up at the time, there was a Quaker oats factory, a Quaker factory on the southeast side of town, and he couldn't get a job doing what he was trained to do, so he needed to provide for his family. He ended up working at Quaker for 25 years and retired as a laborer. And my grandmother and my grandfather gave birth to a man named Roy Simpson, who was my father. My father passed away in 2010, but he raised four children as a single parent. He graduated from East High School. He went away to the Marines. He came back and went to Rock Valley, never finished, ended up getting a job at Singer Mental Health Center. Became the sergeant of security at Singer Mental Health Center, and used that income to provide for four children. One of those children being me. I grew up with that image in my mind of leadership, of love, and sacrifice.
Yeah.
My point is, I am who I am because of my ancestors.
amen.
And I keep that idea in my head every time I face a challenge. Every time somebody tells me I can't do something. Every time you get a little bit of pushback when you know there's no reason for you to be getting this resistance. You know, when you know your ancestors.
Jesus.
When you know who you are, there's very little that can deter you.
Amen.
From your path of success. So in terms of my mind, you know, that's what I see the world through my mind's eye. I'm focused on my ancestors, my family. You know, my dad's side from Alabama, my mother's side is from Mississippi, Canton, Mississippi. You know, rural South, agriculture, sharecropping. You know, what that is basically slavery. You know, so having that knowledge of my people, my ancestors, it helps me see the world, and it helps my mind stay fresh and keep me on my toes so I understand where I'm from. You know, I did a DNA ancestry test and learned that my mother's family is from Ghana, West Africa.
Yes.
My father's family is from Cameroon.
Yes.
So there's a gap between Mississippi and Alabama and West Africa that I gotta fill. You know what I mean? But the significant piece is that you have to search for that information.
Amen.
You have to know who your ancestors are. That's a significant part of your mind. You're talking about renewing your mind so you can be transformed. It's not necessarily going to get some new stuff. It's also tapping into what you already got.
Yes.
You know? So those two pieces are very important. You have to listen and watch. Pay attention to what you're listening to and what you're watching. And almost be guarded.
Amen.
You have to guard your subconscious.
Yes.
And then you have to get to know your ancestors. Because that's who you are. Essentially, you have to find yourself. S-E-L-F. You have to find yourself. And once you are confident in self, there's very little that the world can throw at you that will knock you off the square.
Hey, come on here.
When you know who that is, you know. Especially being black people in a world where we're not beautiful. You know, we're not correct. We're not intelligent. We're not leaders. You know, I remember being in classes and we're talking about great leaders. And none of them were black people. So, you know, you just have to think, man, I'm not a leader. It's only George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. You know what I mean? These are the only leaders that we've ever had. So what am I? Or when you find yourself as the other and people want to touch your hair or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you're an animal. Like you're to be petted. That's the type of stuff that's the environment that we exist in.
Yeah.
So when you know yourself, you're confident to tell people, you know, you're not going to touch my hair. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. You know, you're confident to raise your hand and say, it's interesting that around the same time, you know, Abraham Lincoln was working, Frederick Douglass was working.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So having that knowledge of self is like armor.
Yes.
It's like protection. And that's how you renew that mind and transform yourself and renew your mind so that you can prove the will of God.
Yes.
So you can prove the will of God. So you prove what is really true.
Yes.
Wow. So that's my message to the graduates. And that's just, you know, my ramblings about what I feel has helped me become who I am today. And I'm renewing my mind every day. Every single day. I'm talking to myself. And this is what I use to stay on my toes and to try to continue to be creative, you know, in an environment where I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to think that I can achieve.
Yes.
I'm supposed to stay in my place. I'm supposed to be happy that they gave me a degree.
Oh my!
Right? But you have to continue to renew that mind.
Yes.
You already know my ancestors had already turned up. So this is the least I can do is go hard for them.
Yes.
So you know, with that said, I just want to congratulate you guys. I understand what education feels like.
Yes.
You know, I understand what it's like to have a set of facts imposed on you. You know what I mean? Like, this is important. You better learn this. And you guys made it through it.
Yes.
You know, and then sometimes you're the only brother, only sister in the class, which is a whole other world. And then you still want to be a young person and have fun and enjoy yourself, listen to your music and spend time with your friends. You know, and then you got family pressure. They talking crazy too.
Come on.
So what you've accomplished today is not a small undertaking.
Yes.
It's very important. It's very significant. You know, the challenge now is to convert that education, you know, into some knowledge and wisdom. You know, so education, okay, these things are important. But then you convert that into knowledge, like, why is that important to me?
Yes.
Why should I be paying attention to that? And then the wisdom is, okay, now I understand how it's important to me. When and where do I apply it?
Yes.
So myself and my family and my community will be successful.
Yes.
That's where you are today. Huge accomplishment. High school is huge. College is huge. But guess what? It's time to really turn on it.
Yes.
But we need you to make this city what it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Congratulations one more time.